Good morning and welcome. We are on. Okay. Start slowly. I actually started a little file here with here in my Emacs with some notes on what to do today on the stream. So I actually have these well, these are pull requests, and I figured I'd go through them and land them first if they're fine, or at least check if I can land them or not. And if that is fine, I'm going to dive into this ng HTTP3 buffer size and windowing problem. It's HTTP3 and it is about the interaction between curl and the ng HTTP3 library and how to handle buffer sizes and windowing in Quick. Slightly complicated, but I think I'll get back to the details when we get there. And if we get there, I'm of course open to whatever. If you have questions or ideas, bring them to the chat. As you can see, the chat is even have some remainders from yesterday, which was a long stream, long session, but okay. So I will I will enjoy my coffee and I will dive into GitHub issues. All right, we might even add some other. Morning, icing. I might get into check some issues here too, because I got some feedback on one of the issues that confuses me, and I might get into that. So I'll start out with landing a few pull requests of mine. So I have the 3 ones here, and they're all red in the CI, but the CI is silly, so I think I'm just going to check what it said and maybe ignore those. Travis says red. Travis says red. It usually says red on the ARM build. Yes, it does. Everything is green except for the ARM build, and the ARM build is not playing nice with us, so I'm going to ignore it. It's a bit silly, but the ARM build is sort of randomly segfaulting in test cases. And that would be a serious problem, right? But every time I've tried to reproduce it on other machines, I've never seen it happen. And it doesn't happen all the time on Travis either. So I think it's a Travis thing. So I'm happily just pretending that I don't have to care about it. AppWeyer also has random false positives. I'm going to ignore that too. Yesterday evening, after the stream and after everything, I did a little fancy thing. I actually wrote up. I'll show you. That's this pull request. The curl disable initial docs for the curl disable defines. And it is in curl we have a lot of, you can disable a lot of things in curl by using these defines internally, curl underscore disable underscore. And someone the other day pointed out that we had a partial list in the install document, and that was very, randomly just including a few of these. But now I've created a document that lists them all, very briefly documented, but they're still there. All of them are there, and I also adjusted a test case to make sure that we now actually. So now the test 1165 will actually verify that this document documents all curl disable macros that we have, or defines that we have and use. That test already checks that all those that we use are also possible to toggle on off with configure. So it's a pretty good test. So I'm going to land this little thing. It closes 4587. And SL Diggy on GitHub suggested this, or pointed out this missing documentation. Yeah, let's push. So if you're in the IRC channel now, you will see a notification, and maybe if the bot is with us. Yes, there it is. So landed the documentation. So done. Prevent recursive SSLT. Yeah, that's another pull request. So back to that. All right, delete the branch. I should delete it in my local Git as well. Okay, next pull request I did. That's the one I did yesterday on the stream, I believe. It's a very basic little thing. It sets a bit. That's weird. Before doing the SSL context callback, it sets internally in the handle a little bit that says we're in the callback, and it clears it afterwards. Just to make sure that some functions will return failure when when used from within a callback. That just is actually mostly helpful for users, because using things recursively using curl recursively from within curl callbacks, that's often a reason for sadness and unhappy faces. So better not do that. Closes 4585, but the person, I should say, because I don't know it's a guy, the person who filed bug 4546, here, that is a crash in this OpenSSL function. The person came back and said that he doesn't, I'm saying he again, but the person doesn't use it recursively. Well, it doesn't use the same curl handle recursively, so it creates a new easy handle, and it makes an easy perform call from within the callback. That's an interesting choice of operations, but I don't think it's I don't think it's illegal, really. I think it might be a bit of a strange thing, but and apparently it crashes, annoyingly enough. And I've also already tried to get the person to write us a standalone example that reproduces this, but we haven't received that yet. We just get partial function pieces, so if I run something like this, it crashes. And I haven't been able to. I want a full reproducible example that I can run to reproduce the crash, and then so that I can understand what's going on, and I can rule out that it is a problem with the application of the user who is causing it. So tricky. But anyway, I believe that my fix here, or my improvement here, it's not going to fix the problem that's reported, but I think it's still a good thing, because I might save other users at another point of time. So I'm merging that patch, and I'm going to push to master. Boom. And I'm going to remove the local branch. And back to the pull request here. It now says, oops, make it smaller. Closed with unmerged commits. Yeah, that's because I rebased it locally before I merged it. So now it's closed, and I remove the branch from GitHub. And boom, we are down to the third pull request of the day to land. Reject pseudo headers after normal headers when they come from quiche. So let me just verify that it's still build with quiche enabled. There are so many different build combinations you can build curl with, so I sometimes forget which build setup I'm using for the moment. So yeah, I just wanted to verify that quiche is here, quiche 0.1.0, and they don't seem to bump their version very often. And it makes me curious if they've actually changed anything. Let's see. Something changed. So I'll just rebuild my quiche version. Yeah, I could use a higher -j number, but I'm actually trying to remember to use -j6 just because I have 8 threads in my computer, and it's good to not use all of them because it makes my video or audio choppy sometimes if I use them all for building rather than streaming. Not that it matters much, but still. So that works too. Still says quiche 0.1.0. And now I'm going to just check that's the pull request, and that also has redsea builds and all sorts of redsea builds. FreeBSD ones, yeah, they just failed completely at 0CI, so I'll just ignore them. And again, Travis probably failed on ARM. Blah, 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 yeah, AMD64, green, all the way down to the 34th build, ARM64 failed, and I can show you how it looks like. Scroll to the bottom. One of the tests there, suddenly, test 1382, bam. Totally annoying. I think the ARM support on Travis is still marked as in beta, so I don't know. Maybe it's their fault, maybe it's our fault somehow, I don't know. Okay, so I will go to this branch here. And I will rebase it to just get in on top of things. I will rebase it -I and just fix them up to a single, squash them into a single commit, and I will verify that it actually says something good here, and it closes 4584. It was reported, the bug was reported in the Cloudflare quiche repository originally by Cynthia Cohn, so I'm keeping her as reporter here, even though I actually filed it in the curl issue tracker. Okay, so I'm going to merge it into master. It looks good. I'm going to push it. Boom. remove the local branch. Check out Firefox. It says closed without merge commits. That's perfectly fine. I always get that because I always merge it with Git rather than with GitHub. So I always get that. So I never get that nice little merge icon in the pull requests just because of that. So that's the 3 pull requests that I created yesterday. Okay, good. Then we're done there too. Here. Going down the I'm trying to save that file all the time. Nothing to save. I've done those 3 in 15 minutes. Yeah, this is going good. So back to, I wanted to check some issues. We have 46 filed issues and we have 31 pull requests open. We got this fun thing yesterday. This was filed 18 hours ago. Well, yesterday afternoon. How interesting, because I get a pop-up window, but you don't see that pop-up window. Okay, it pops up the date in a pop-up window in my Firefox, but it doesn't seem to be visible in the stream. It doesn't matter. It was filed at 4 p.m. yesterday, GMT +1, and that is my time. So I thought it was interesting because it says a proxy any auth issue, and it's suddenly there's an issue here somewhere, but it also said user agent curl 7.29.0. That's almost 6 years old, and I scrolled through the release. I'll show you. I have this one. I like to refer to this release table that we have in curl. So that these are all curl releases with some facts about each release, right? The number of the release, the version, the date, how many days since the previous release, or since the most recent release, how many bug fixes the release included, how many changes, and then accumulated the same things, and the number of known vulnerabilities we have gotten reported in that version. So 7.29.0 down there, that's 7.29, 6.8 years after the most recent one. So I figured that's an old release. So yeah, reporting a bug on that. Reporting a bug on an almost 7 years old release. Surely it must be. Surely I can just ignore it. And this is the fun number. This is the number of bug fixes we've done since then. 3.5k. That's a lot of bug fixes. But so that's basically what I said, and I sort of dismissed this a little bit. Oh, almost 7 years. Please try another. It's probably fixed already. So the person did it, and no, it's not fixed. Just basically reproduced the same thing with the latest curl. So yeah, that was me. Just me. Okay, wasn't that good. Still a problem with proxy and negotiate authentication. But I'm not going to get into that right now. Negotiate is an annoying authentication, and I also we don't have proper test cases for negotiate, so and I don't use negotiate myself, so it's an annoying situation with negotiate. So it makes me just sad to think about it, so I'll just postpone it a little bit. So back to these things, libcurl configure under Ming W fails. Yeah, if you link with a static set of static libraries with configure, it is doomed to fail in weird ways occasionally, because it's linking with static libraries, we can't figure out what all the possible dependencies are. So libcurl, or sort of rather the configure, can make some guesses and check for a few things, but if you link with static libraries, I think you really need to be aware and be ready to provide those extra libraries manually. And that's basically what the reporter did and said in this report, and said that configure didn't do right. And yeah, no, it didn't, but it's also a race we can never win, because we can build with a huge amount of third-party libraries and we can't make them all. I mean, we can't figure out all the extra dependencies for all of them. It's just not feasible. Okay, so I'm going to go down to the one that I wanted to show you and work on today. First, we have the one I mentioned previously. That's the crash. The person doing a recursive call into curl again from a curl callback, and it crashes somehow in a weird way, unexplainably. I don't know why, and yeah, I haven't got any code to reproduce it myself, so it's a bit of a mystery. This is the race I'm still working on, the multi-threaded use of a shared connection cache. Really difficult. I didn't do much yesterday on it. It crashes occasionally on FreeBSD only. And this is a golden bug report. I love it because it's so mysteriously. So this is a bug report from Geeknik, and this is a clueful person, so this is not a random guesswork here. He is into fuzzing and doing he's a sort of standard. He has filed several security vulnerability reports on curl over the years, and he has had right several times and pointed out several, and he's usually the one, you know, poking deep inside of curl and asking difficult questions. And in this case, he's using this AFL++ fuzzer thing. AFL being American Fuzzy Lopper, right? So it's a fuzzer tool. And bear with me here, this is complicated, but he builds curl with this tool. Well, he builds it with some this AFL Clang C++ and AFL Clang fast blah blah magic compiler extra thing. And if he does that and he runs the code with a little preload of an extra library, and this extra library basically just wraps all the memory functions to make sure that they ruin the memory before providing it to the tool, and it unmaps the memory before and after the allocated memories to just pretty much it's a library to detect bad use of memory. But anyway, I don't think that's the key here. But when he builds curl then with this magic compiler. He runs it, and some he also builds with these sanitizer and defined sanitizers and magic stuff. It creates warnings. And the warnings here, I mean, warnings are also warnings, but in this case, it says fun warnings like this: runtime error, member access within misaligned address. No, this says member access within misaligned. So it basically means that it warns that we are accessing data misaligned where we shouldn't, or where it's illegal. So this says the code is wrong because it can potentially access memory misaligned. And here's the thing, I just can't see how that happens, because this is the code that it warns on. I'll show you. It's a fun little easy code, and it's code that's been in curl for a long time. Here's these 3 lines here. If I just clear that to not scare you, but these 3 lines here, it warns on them, so it's a mem copy. And first, I don't see how anyone can legally complain on a mem copy. I mean, this isn't even necessary to be aligned on any way. And then it complains on this line, saying it can be done unaligned, and this line can be done unaligned. And I just can't see how that happens, because this struct is a curl hash element. And you see it does a malloc of that, and it adds the key length, so it's sort of a dynamic size, or not dynamic, but it can vary depending on the key length. And this is how the struct looks like. It has a struct list element first, then the pointer, then the size of the key, and then the key. And looking at the code again down here, how can this become unaligned legally? I don't get it. The problem is that nobody else gets it either, so the bug is just sitting there now, waiting for something magic to happen, or for someone to magically figure out what's wrong here. Presumably, or what the compiler says, the tool says here, is that we're doing something or we're relying on some undefined behavior, or we're being lucky. But we're also, this is old code, and curl has run on quite a few operating systems and CPU architectures, and a bunch of those architectures don't allow unaligned memory accesses like this. So I would imagine that we would crash on some of those CPU architectures if this was a big problem, or if it was a common problem, or if it was a problem at all. So yeah, I don't know. And of course, looking at the bug, then those hash warnings, those are the 3 first warnings in this list. Well, it has 2 other warnings first, but I decided to ignore those. And those are the 3 warnings on the hash.c code. And nice, there are actually 2 warnings on the same source code line. So yes, but it points. No, a void pointer in that case. It's a typecasted pointer, just so that, because PTR as the member of the struct, it's a void pointer, while P is not. So it doesn't even. Right, because it's a const pointer there, and that pointer is not a const, so it's actually just a way to prevent a warning. Not very nice, but it's not an illegal operation, for all I can tell. And it doesn't change the alignment of the pointer anyway. And the problem isn't on the right side, the problem is on the left side, if this is unaligned, or can ever be unaligned. If you never saw this code pattern, I don't think you've read a lot of C code. This is, I would say, pretty much standard C code pattern. This is a typecast. You will find it in many places. It's usually you want to avoid doing typecast, just forcing it over to another type, because it's sort of avoids. It tells the compiler I know better, and doing that is usually not a good idea. So we should avoid them, but it's hard to avoid them everywhere, especially with code that moves and changes over time. Anyway, I'm not going to stay on this issue for a long time. So it just, that same problem, it exists everywhere in the curl code, apparently. So if I scroll down here, you can see it on numerous places. So if this is genuinely a problem, we have the problem in many places. And I've tried to, go back to check the code and some of the other of these warnings, like, oh, here's the hash again on another line, or there exists in the linked list code too. but they all follow the same pattern in curl code, and I can't see the problem. So it's still here, and I marked it help wanted, as if help wanted ever helped me. But anyway, yeah, that's annoying, and I don't know what to do with it really. It sits there. It's been there for 14 days now. And here's where I'm going today. I'm going into this because now we're getting into HTTP 3, and I thought about this yesterday, and I'm having sort of I'm weighing back and forth on how to do this. Basically, the issue is when we do transfers with regular sockets, we do TCP or UDP. You know, we provide a buffer with a certain size, and we read okay, no, Quick is not standardized yet. Quick is right now on draft 24, but it's far enough in progress that there are libraries to use and servers to run against, and it's certainly time to make things work with Quick, even if Quick will change a little bit more. There's well, there are interrupt meetings all the time, or they have virtual interrupts and they are physical interrupts, and there's another interrupt planned for February in Zurich if you want to participate. So before February 2020, there won't be any finalized version of Quick, but still, there are a lot of libraries for doing Quick, and there are a lot of opportunities to start fiddling with Quick. And with curl, we can build with either the quiche library from Cloudflare or the ng, and here's the mouthful, the ngTCP2 and ngHTTP3 library combination. So we can build either or so you can decide which backend or which library to build your particular curl with Quick and HTTP3 with. And well, there's been movement, I think, in both camps, or in particular, I started out with ngTCP2 because I thought that we've had such a big success and worked well with ngHTTP2 for the HTTP2 parts with curl, and not only in our camp, right? A lot of users have been using ngHTTP2 properly, and I think they've proven that they know how to do library, and it's been good and everything. And I started out with ngTCP2, but two things. First, ngTCP2 were pretty slow at actually providing an HTTP layer, so they just wrote the Quick parts for a long time. And then some other guys tried to start on the HTTP parts to put on the ngTCP2, because ngTCP2 is still only Quick. So, and that took a while, and then the Cloudflare guys provided me a patch with, hey, you can build curl to use quiche instead. So, instead or both. So we added quiche support in addition to ngTCP2. And then, then ngTCP2 also has this idea about being TLS library sort of ignorant. They want to support. No, it was Alessandro. Alessandro did the patch. I think Alessandro does most of the coding on quiche. And Lucas, well, he does too, but I think it's more Alessandro Ghedini. So ngTCP2 is also TLS library independent. So it's supposed to, you can use ngTCP2 with whatever TLS library, and they started out basically letting the application do all the TLS magic, and if you know quick just a little bit, there's a lot of TLS magic to do for quick. So basically, lumping over a whole lot of TLS weirdo magic crypto things to the application, which then I tried to do by copying his example code that did it. That was basically almost 1,000 lines of code to put into libcurl to be able to make sure that we could use ngTCP2 properly. And I actually pretty much failed on it, and I had to ask Tatsuhiro, the main author of ngTCP2, for help. So he made it work. And then he added support for, then he started working on HTTP3, which is the HTTP3 library that is independent of the quick library, so we can use that on top of ngTCP2. Long story, but then also Tatsuhiro, I don't know if I pronounce his name right, I probably don't. He now has sort of the default setups for different TLS libraries provided by ngTCP2. So now I could rip out all my weirdo TLS magic for quick, and ngTCP2 provide that. So now we can build without get rid of a lot of extra code from curl. But I still think that we are doing ngTCP2 and HTTP3, that's more code in curl than handling HTTP3 with quiche. So right now, I also slightly prefer quiche's API and approach to how to do HTTP3. So it's actually easier to do HTTP3 with quiche rather than HTTP3. So right now, I don't know. I think it's right. I'm not sure how I'm going to proceed down the road, if I'll be able to actually support both all the time, or if I'm going to pick one and stick to that at some point. We'll see how they fare. Right now, I believe ngTCP2 is on draft 24 and quiche is still on draft 23. I don't know if that matters. It also comes back to this, since it's not standardized yet. I think there are a few servers out there, right? So if I want to play with HTTP3, I want to have some servers to try it against. And I think the biggest deployment right now are Cloudflare servers, and they're on draft 23. So I think that is coordinated with, so quiche being a Cloudflare library, and Cloudflare runs a lot of HTTP3 servers. So I think they're on 23 until they can take the bump, both for their library and their server deployments, to up to 24. Because 24 has been out now for over a week, I believe. So from my reading, a lot of the other libraries and servers are bumping to 24. So I think there's going to be draft 24 on many places rather soon. Or I hope, because it makes everything better when we're sort of unified on the same version or draft number on several places. It's also annoying because that draft number that's used in the ALPN identifier that we use when we connect quick. So we use actually H3-23 or H3-24. And that ALPN number is also used in the alt service header that we used in order to bootstrap to HTTP3. And that is then difficult when we use different alt service identifiers depending on which library we build curl to use. Yeah, it's a lot of things to keep track of. So back to doing things with quick as compared to, for example, TCP. With both HTTP, or rather compared to HTTP2 maybe. But anyway, when we do things with HTTP3, we have quick streams, and each stream has a flow control window, right? So it's we allow the other side to send X amount of data right now, and then we sort of decrease that amount, and we have to increase the amount again to tell it to get the other side to send more. That's basically windowing in TCP, and we have flow control windows in HTTP2 streams as well. But when we do TCP, we have a kernel space that has a lot of buffers for TCP windowing and stuff, which makes it a different situation for Quick when we have everything in user space and we have to read it out ourselves. So right now we run into problems because the curl default download buffer is 16K per ongoing transfer. That means per stream, really. And if you download data really fast, 16K buffer seems to be a bit limited when doing Quick, but not as much as when doing other protocols. And we've been struggling how to handle that. And that is what this issue is about. Because as Xavier here correctly identified, if we have buffers and we have a bigger window size than we have buffer size, and NG-HTTP3 can feed us more data than we can fit into the buffer. So if we don't drain the buffer fast enough, we will overflow our buffer. Or actually, in Curl's case, there's a cert here. So if you build it with it'll sort of bam. We haven't written code to handle this situation because it's not supposed to end up like this. So it goes bam. It says hangs because I think it hangs if you build it without the debug symbol, because it's a condition that's so it's not really handled. So yeah, we have to. The problem, well, the challenge is that NG-HTTP3 is callback based, so we ask it to read data and it'll call back to and populate our buffer, but we don't drain it by a callback, right? So we have to return back to our caller that has to read out our buffer. So we have to fill out our buffer, return out, and have our user drain the buffer, and then we can come back and fill up the buffer again. It's a bit complicated, but right now I think we have to make sure that we have a fairly big buffer for high speed HTTP3, and we need to make sure to tell NG-HTTP, the complicated names to say a lot of times. So we need to set the window size to NG-HTTP3 to be the same as the buffer size, I think. It's a bit unfortunate because I think it might limit the transfer speeds, but I think we're going to have to start out with this and then tweak it maybe down the line. Yeah, and the problem is with the OS UDP buffers is that they're per connection anyway, so I need these buffers or windowing per stream. Yeah, I don't know how they really relate to the OS UDP buffers. Right now, they just seem that if we drain the UDP buffers, if we drain everything on incoming UDP, we can certainly fill up our buffers faster than we can drain them, and that seems wrong, and it seems like a bad use of the window thing. So yeah, I'm going to start out with trying to handle it, to set the window size to the same as our buffer size, which is, the stream window size. I had a bunch of issues moving to void. I don't know. I don't even know what void is, so I don't know. And sure, switching to LibreSSL instead of OpenSSL probably. Oh, you mean, and they use build curl with Libre. That shouldn't be that much of a problem, right? I mean, Mac OS these days, they ship their curl using LibreSSL, and I don't have a lot of issues. I don't see a lot of issues because of that, so I don't know. Well, potentially there are problems in there. I'm actually always curious why anyone would go with LibreSSL these days, but I see that a lot of instances still do, so it's interesting. So I am going to rebuild my curl to use ngTCP2. I have this prepared. Well, BSD or not, I don't even understand why the BSD guys go with LibreSSL, because I think it's the wrong bet. But I get it. It's done by BSD, OpenBSD people, so I get it. It's more of a cultural thing to go there, but I still think it's the wrong way. I think you're betting on the wrong horse by going LibreSSL. But sure, everyone is entitled to do what they think is the right thing. So rebuild with, which I was just think maybe I should update my ngTCP2 as well, but then I get the draft 24 version instead of the draft 23. So okay, maybe I'll just start out here and figure out ngTCP2 and where am I? I realized they think I mean, LibreSSL was made right as a reaction to Heartbleed. And I know that the LibreSSL guys had a good time, and there was a lot of snark from their camp when they made it. But a few years have passed. How good have they managed to keep up with TLS development? Not as good as the other two forks. So I think history will maybe not play in their favor. I don't know. Again, people can do what they want. Window. So where is the window? Quick max data. Is that the window? Oh no, here's the stream. Well, here's a stream buffer size. I had a discussion on Twitter yesterday about the meaning of this these quick settings that are agreed upon when doing a quick connect. Yeah, I think they did help. I mean, I think all those efforts around Heartbleed actually helped OpenSSL. So yes, I think LibreSSL as an effort has helped OpenSSL too. I just think that if I as a user right now would pick one of those libraries, I don't see a single reason to go with LibreSSL. That's my point. And because I think, I mean, they don't, like now, like we are talking things like quick here, right? So who's working on quick in LibreSSL? LibreSSL was even really slow on doing TLS 1.3 because now they're on their own. So keeping up with TLS development is now turning out a challenge to the LibreSSL team. It was easy to remove code and be snarky and say things that the OpenSSL did wrong. as if nobody knew about that. So that was easy. Going forward is much harder. And now doing adapting the API for the quick related things, we don't see a lot of action on that part either from LibreSSL. Boring SSL is covered. OpenSSL is at least in progress, not so much from Libre. So I think it's unfortunate that they went their own way, because I think there's just splitting out the efforts and in many more camps when it could be efforts in fewer camps on the sort of common goal. But maybe it's good with competition. Maybe it'll show the others who correct things, way of doing things. So that stream buffer size, I was a bit maybe max stream. Max stream extended. Extend, okay. I like a good callback that does nothing and returns 0. I'm going to have to check out the documentation here. Oops. I have my coffee break scene here next to the Firefox one, so I occasionally sometimes hit the coffee break for a very, very short coffee break. But no coffee break for, well, let's wait a while longer. Where am I? I wanted to see the documentation. NGTCP2 is here. Programmer's Guide, 3 months ago. Window, not a single, no max data either. Okay. Let's switch over to the header file instead. It's here in my build ngtcp2 directory, include, blah, blah, blah. Just want to see if it's documented a bit at least. So max data, the connection level flow control. The connection level flow control, that's less of an issue for us. Yeah, you mean from the entire Heartbleed event. So yeah, I used to mention Heartbleed as an interesting moment in time, because I don't think Heartbleed was it was kind of a success for in a lot of ways, right? Because it suddenly made people aware of the problems, and suddenly good efforts came up, like the core initiative, and suddenly the OpenSSL got funded much better. And so I would say that in retrospect, Heartbleed was a really good event. And then I tried to ironically say that I'm hoping for one for curl too, so that we also can have such a good event that just boosts our project, but kidding. Well, I don't think Spectre and Meltdown I don't think they have helped projects in the same way that Heartbleed did. I mean, Spectre and Meltdown has just made CPUs slow, everything slower because of theoretical attacks that nobody has really managed to make use of. So I think, that they're probably good in a major, good sense, but I don't think it's benefited the entire industry as much as Heartbleed did. So this is, but so how do we pronounce bidirectional, bidi? It's difficult to talk about coding, because then suddenly I have to pronounce all these function names and defines and whatever. When you just read them, you can just read them silently in your head and just Yeah, you just speak Swedish instead, like more like the Swedish chef. Bork, bork, birdie, birdie, birdie. That's Beatty. Yeah, so I'm so old, so I saw the Muppet shows once. I mean, live. On television, when we only had one channel. And I'm sorry, we actually had more, but still. But it's... this is Linux. Well, actually you can't really see that it is Linux, but it is Linux. I only run Linux on my machines and I prefer to use Linux. I have a few other machines, but I don't use them for my day-to-day stuff. Day-to-day I do Linux. This is a Debian, as they call Debian SID, or Debian Unstable, which is it's living on the edge, so it's actually is a fairly I would say it's fairly stable, but it's short. It's not a Linux distribution I would recommend for my parents, but I'm very happy with it, so it's good for me. I would say that Debian Unstable in general is more than caught up with other distributions. It is fairly on the edge with most stuff, and most, at least of the stuff that I care about. And it's actually one of the Linux distributions with the it has been, at least traditionally, been very up to date with the curl releases. So that I approve of. Otherwise, I try to be. I don't really care about Linux distributions as long as you run whatever you want to do. So now the HTTP3, is that a unidirectional? It has to be, right? That's a unidirectional stream created by the client. So stream buffer size, it has to be that, but so then it's a question of how the window size is handled by that's the buffer size. So it looks like I'm already doing what I was set out to do here today. Obviously something is then not doing the right thing. So then there's this question of when, and then it comes back. I need to communicate back to Tatsuhiro and the team about how to handle this, because we have this it's called receive data. Here's the callback here. Here's the assert that in the code that checks if we don't have enough data, if we don't have enough buffer space left to hold the data assert. Actually, so it actually misbehaves quite badly if we build without debug, but I'll leave it as that. I don't care too much about that right now. Right now I just don't understand. Extend max stream offset. Extend max stream. Extend streams max stream data value by. The smaller one of this, what's left in the buffer and what's all right, that's the problem, right? Because we get this callback, but it can't actually, we can actually just get a partial piece of it, because that's not how NGHP3 works. It wants me to consume the entire thing. So this is actually wrong. So basically, when that debug assert triggers, we're doomed, but that shouldn't trigger. Now I know why. We shouldn't expand the window until we have consumed that data, of course. Ooh. Shouldn't is a good word, yeah. But luckily for me, at least, this code is still considered experimental and marked as experimental and only enabled explicitly. So I think I'm entitled to have some sort of weird thing still. So yes, this is wrong. I just need to figure out how to handle it instead. So I need to, yeah, that's a fun thing to search for on GitHub. This shouldn't really happen or something like that, and you can find 100,000 different hits from code that says so. And in this case, no, it really shouldn't happen, but it happens anyway, right? Because I'm doing it wrong. So I shouldn't expand the window size until we've actually consumed the data that we added here, because now we just expand the window size immediately, so we will just get more. Well, this is experimental code, but it's all in Git, so it's all in Git master. So this is, so I mean, we got the bug report, right? Because people are testing it out, so it's not secret in a way. It's just not. I would say it's probably not production ready, so you shouldn't use it in the production, but it's still there for people to use and play with and enhance and make sure that we can at some point mark it as not experimental. Even if HB3 is a bit far away from being productive, production quality anytime soon. And then I don't actually just think about curl code, I think about the entire stack of things that are still left to fix. The back again to the TLS discussion, seeing where we go with TLS libraries and Quick is an interesting development, because OpenSSL still haven't landed the API changes necessary to do Quick, so they're far away from being able to be used for Quick. I mean, LibreSSL aren't even working on it. I haven't seen anything on that for LibreSSL. Boring SSL has it, but nobody's using Boring SSL really in Linux distros and so on. So it's an interesting block until we can see this really available in Linux distros, especially in the Linux distros people are actually running on their servers and so on. So it's when we shipped HTTP2, we had this problem that we needed ALPN and TLS, and ALPN only existed in the latest version of OpenSSL and not in the current sort of version available in all CentOS distros. And that was a problem. And then ALPN was already in OpenSSL. In this case, we have a feature for TLS we need for Quick that hasn't even landed in their Git master branch yet. And OpenSSL being so dominant and being the primary TLS library for so many things, I think just that fact alone would be a huge blocker for ordinary people to use Quick for a while. Now I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to signal that we should enlarge the window, because I want to do that when we've drained the buffer, but we copied data to the buffer within this file, and we read it later. The problems with linking to things. Yeah, I'm not a dark guy. I use light terminals and I do light editor windows. No darkness, no black backgrounds. That's no. Right. It is actually. Isn't that a rather silly question? I mean, people use what they want, right? So if you want dark, use dark. If you want light, use light. If you think it's harsh on the eyes, use the other mode. Use the one you think is best for you. Reset to allow more data to come. Right. It's 10:40 now, the sun is setting. This is actually, that's why I'm streaming right now. It's actually, I have a window in my ceiling here, so it's actually light outside. So this is actually natural daylight. But well, 3:30 or so this afternoon, it's going dark again. Where do I? Right, this is the function that writes data into the buffer. Right, so the ngh3, that's called when it's actually... now I'm starting to remember how things are actually done. I think this is the function that should increase the window for that stream. And then it needs to know which stream it is, and it does, because it says stream up here. Okay. Just need to remember what I'm doing. Consumed. Wait a minute. Am I extending it twice? It looks like I'm extending the window twice. I might be increasing it. So the window size is probably totally crazy. Okay. I need to do some debug. I'm just checking here. NGTCP2, NGTCP HTTP3 and HTTP3. So I think I need some sort of debug code. I wonder if I'll have any. I wanted to look up a server that I could try this against. HTTP3, HTTPS, cloudflarequick.com, I believe. Will that work? But did it do the right thing? Yes, it did the right thing. I know, because I had that silly debug output. So looking at the command line, it connects socket 3 over quick. That's what it wants to do. Handshake is complete. Establish connection. And then there's a HTTP3 response. Response headers. It actually said HTTP3 over there. Nice and fake. So yep, it's fake because it doesn't really look like that. It's converted to HTTP1 style. 100K and 100K works good too. I wonder if that needs to be too. What it returns. No, it just returns error. Deferred consume. I do that as well. What's deferred consume? One of the challenges with using either of these library setups for Quick and HTTP3, it is that neither of them are very well documented yet, so sometimes a little bit of a guesswork to figure out what they actually do. So I'm going to do this, a little debug function, static void extend the stream window this much, f print. So I'm just going to output something. Stream whatever. Stream is a int 64. So let me do the entire thing there, and then I'm sure that it's correct. Well, things are. I'm not sure how things are going right now. We'll see. Now I'm lost. Where was I? There. I think maybe I should put both of them there, because I do both of them at the same time. So I'm going to thank you. I'm going to put all my window extensions in this function and use that function everywhere where I extend it, and then see where whatever happens, extend max here, extend like that. Just gonna to make sure. Yes. There it is, and now I'm just and consumed undeclared. Okay, it was called this much in here. Right, oh, sorry, I already built it. So let's run it. Extended with 524, with 3, with 1148, 0. Well, it's not obviously done twice for each. Seems to be called with that, and then, yeah, so it looks pretty okay. I think it's just doing it in the wrong place, so maybe if I just fix that, it might be better. It's my curly hair, actually. No. NGH3, where is it? Where is it? There, stream receive. So I'm going to try to move my extend stream window, but do I? Yeah, I want to do the extend stream window here. Extend stream window there, but how much? With memlen. That's what I want to do. Memlen. But I also need stream ID. Stream. I think it's called stream 3 ID. And I want the tcon. How do I get that? Setting quick. Oh, that's the QCon. Oh yes, so QCon. It's the quick socket QCon. Trying to remember how where everything is. The QSQCon. That's in the connection. And we have the connection in there. So I want to do like this, the QS. That's a quick socket. That's a struct that holds data for the socket for quick. Socket data for quick. So it's called QS, QCon, I believe. Maybe this will work. I'll just compile and see. It was not fine. Declaration of QS shadows. Okay, so I already had it. QS. Oh, we already had QS. Okay. I mean, this can only go horribly wrong, right? Where am I? In the code, I added that function to debug and see more of my windowing changes. And I moved. No, I didn't move it. I just added it to one place. I should. Now, which of all these extended window extensions am I seeing? So extend string window. Line number. So let's do it like this. So in every case I use this. Use this. Okay. Is that gonna work? It extended from 750 most of the times. I believe that is where we don't want to do it anymore. Okay, I'm just trying by removing it from there. Unused variable. Just moving that, and then I can remove the entire thing like this, in case I want to put it back. Okay, doesn't use. It's a little bit weird. I've never increased it with MGS3. It should have. never said anything about this, and that's weird. It never extended stream 0 with 0 all the time. That looks... No, extended stream 0 with window with... That's 987, that's the one. But that looks sort of correct. But it got the entire thing in one. $372. So yeah, why do we do that if we don't? Should rather do it like this. If or not at all. Because we only want to bump the window when we actually have consumed data, not when we just got data. Then we use the window the proper way. I hope. Boom. And I think I should, this annoying CBH3 called with, maybe I should remove that. It's not a very helpful output, so let's remove that. Receive. The problem with having debug output somewhere, of course, is that it's sometimes useful, sometimes not. Remove it. Okay, but it seems to work. At least it's a simple case. But this uses a really large window. It uses 100K by default. The curl tool. Extended stream, yeah, extends it with not too. I mean, it looks fine. I need to remove the fprint because that is certainly not fine, but otherwise we might be able to try this out. I'm going to write myself a little HTTP3 using program that uses a much smaller I have this debug directory. it is full of various debug programs from the years. You can do it like this. If I just do libcurl debug http3.c there. And then I'm going to start with that http3 program. There it is. It says http. Let's say, yeah, http3. I'm just going to use a maybe I'll just use 5,000 just as a test to see what happens. The makefile I have already assumes that the file is called debugit.c, so I just always symlink the file to debugit.c. So hp3 debugit.c, so I can rerun debugit. There, set up the library path, and then I can rewrite it. It didn't work because then I ran into that. That's the problem I mentioned before. But we got a bunch of stuff first, so it partly worked. Maybe. But extended window with, and then okay, coffee break. I'll be back in. Well, let's time this. It'll take me 2.5 minutes. So everyone, refill your coffee mugs. So let's go dive into serious debugging. the downside with working from home. There's nobody taking care of the coffee making and brewing. I have to do it myself. I'm going to replace this assert with more information instead. I have some weird asserts in here. Bufflenga. Bytes. Has room for. No, you watch this stream because you can get to see my mistakes and Emacs and terminals, of course. And I haven't even invoked GDB yet, this stream. And now, right, I need to rebuild my little tool. I build libcurl statically, so I need to rebuild my example code too when I rebuild curl. And now let's see what happens. I'm trying to. I realize I'm often alone in using Emacs. I wasn't really serious. So we got 527 bytes. We have room for 416 bytes. It says so here. So then it begs the question, how come? Someone miscalculates the bytes. Someone is probably me. Yeah, sometimes I just need to push back my chair for a minute and reconsider. My carpet on the floor here is in the way when I want to roll around with my chair. I need to... there. Much better. Yeah. Yeah, so I thought I set up my initial window to be my buffer size, and then I get data. I don't add any window, but when I consume it, I add back that window, and then in the end, I get more data than I have room for, which shouldn't be possible. If I have done everything right and NGTCP2, NGHP3, if they do everything right, but I figure I need to try that out. I'm also trying to at the same time now go over to my mailing list administration thing and say accept. When you join the curl mailing list and post something there for the first time, they're moderated, so they get caught by the system, and I need to say accept, pass through, and that happens every now and then. I just did, so now there's and it's kind of interesting. So there's a new mailing list post that talks about a new feature idea, and what's fun is that it's exactly the feature ID I already discussed the other day on the mailing list, so it makes a good reply for me. I actually already wrote a little wiki page about the idea, so coming up soon. Okie dokie. I need to do some window size debugging here then. Didn't expect that to happen today, but okay. In this case here I wonder if I lose data. I mean, the window is per quick stream and not actually per HTTP3 data amount. So I wonder if we're then losing a few bytes, or how I'm going to handle that. Right? Because, I mean, the flow control is per quick stream. And if the data I get within that stream is HTTP3, not everything there is going to be HTTP3 data. If I just add window for the data in the HTTP3, it's going to be slightly less, I guess. Maybe. So I removed that one from the receive, callback receive. I understand this stream now got into really deep debugging and might not be that interesting for you to watch, but I don't care. I'm going to try to figure out my window issue. So when I receive data, this is from ngTCP2, so I want to just put some received quick data bytes quick data received, and it's what the amount consumed. Well, I said consumed before at least. Connection read stream. Maybe. Let's try that. I can't write properly, as we know. Exactly. Well, printf is really useful for a lot of debugging, so of course the first choice is always to do it with printf, and like this. That's totally didn't do anything. So that was not the reason why, because it says 0 all the time there. So it's I wanted to get a count for sort of the number of bytes on the stream quick wise, not HTTP3 wise. Okay. Callback. Receive stream data. It's not consumed, so that's maybe Bufflin. Yeah, I don't know how you experience it, but I think that the delay in the stream and everything and what you say in the chat, it actually works pretty good. I'm sure there's delay, but quite manageable delay. And there we see received, 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 received. Right. That's good. That's what I wanted to see. But then I also wanted to here. I wanted to add copied bytes for stream. And there the email came on the mailing list about the feature idea wake up option for curl multi-wait / poll. Do. At least it's reproducible, this problem. I get it all the time now. Boom. Copied, received, copied, received, copied, received. Copied, received. And yeah, that's, I think, in this case, 1148, 1148, 1148, 406. And then, so is that calc 1148 plus 1148 plus 11, 3 1148, 1 406. Is that 3850? Yeah, it was fast. So let's see. Yeah, that is 3850. So not too bad. But here it is. So we lose 3 bytes there. Why is that? Then we lose 3 bytes again. But it doesn't explain it, right? Because even if we lose bytes, we'll just add too little to the window. That'll just shrink the window over time. And it's there, it says like 110 bytes lost, which is too much anyway. If there's only 3 bytes error, 3 byte offset there, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 times. It's not that. Maybe I should blame NGTCP2. And of course I should then perhaps rather upgrade. It's okay, instead of wasting a lot of time there, let's go to NGTCP2. I haven't updated that in a while, so they have changed a bunch of things, of course. Rerun configure. And rebuild. So I think this is now going to use draft 24. Yeah, never can remember in which order, since they're different libraries. They have to be built. Both of them has to be built and obviously I needed the HTTP3 library before the quick library, which seems a bit unintuitive, but okay. It's just because the examples in the quick library are using the HTTP library. And back in curl land, we rerun make and see that sometimes they change the API in subtle ways and then the build breaks for us, so maybe it does it this time as well. But no. Woohoo! But of course they didn't change the version number, right? So it's still yeah, they're still also on 0.1.0 for both libraries, because they don't bump that either. So why bump the version numbers? So they're all stuck on the same. So quiche is also stuck on 0.1.0, and they're also stuck on the same version. Hello. And we are clocking in on 2 hours stream, but I haven't really gotten very far on this window thing, so I'm going to continue for a while longer and see if I can come up with something good. So I'm going to do something really ugly here and use the global variable just to hold the single stream window size. I am working on the bug that is called this issue. Well, this is I'm deep into HTTP3 debugging stream transfers when using the NGTCP2 library. So I run out a window when I shouldn't. Window size. Local window size. This is just for debugging. I'm going to remove it once I've done played it. Local window size. There's nothing from the beginning, and I'm going to local window size this much. I'm gonna have to decrease it at some point too. Let's do that when here. When we receive data, we decrease local window. Should be buffering all the time. Buffering. So remove window when we get data. Try that out. Okay. This, but I didn't show it, but I just counted local window size. So when I run into that problem, extended stream X window with this many bytes, 2. So that's local window size. And then when it's wrong, has room, buffer has room for that many bytes. Local window is local window size. Maybe that will do something, or not. At least it's easy to reproduce. Ooh, now it might not be as easy, because now I might need to change server. Let's see what happens if I rerun the same code. Yep, nothing happens because it doesn't connect to the server anymore, because now we're talking draft 24 and not draft 23. Okay, so I have this fun resource called HTTP3 test. So it's a list of publicly available HTTP3 servers. So if you want one of them, go here and connect to them. Most on draft H23 it says, so they're not. That's not true. I think. I hope, because I think. Okay. I'm going to use this one because I think I'll cheat a short second. Oh, sorry. Now I'm. Here's my Twitter feed. You just got the wrong Firefox, because again it did the wrong thing. supposed to say this. I was gonna cheat and see. Let's ignore it. Let's pretend or hope that it actually runs the right server version. I would imagine that they run the correct one for their own. I mean, that their own servers match the version their library runs. So I'm going to, instead of using Cloudflare server, I'm going to use the NGTC. This is great because it's actually NGHP2.org. But it's the same team that has NGHP2 as NGTCP2 and NGHP3. They enjoy their NG names. Okay. End of fun. Because we go hit some other stupid... Wait, that's not even my code. I like it. Now this is an NGTCP2 bug. Con prepare key up assertion. Callbacks update key failed. Okay. I don't know what to do about it. So I guess that concludes my NGTCP2 practices for today, because now I'm going to have to do like this. I'm going to create a branch that I call Bagder, because that's my nickname on GitHub, and I call NGTCP2 window size debugging. Debug in uppercase NGTCP2 window win issues, because it's not in a state to bring anywhere. So I'm back on. I'm just going to rebuild then on the git master state version of the code. Oh, and I'm going to just run curl command line hp3 verbose, and I'm going to use this URL. Go. Bam. And just because it does that, this is what I'm going to report as a bug, unless they already have it reported. So I'm going to check NGTC GitHub NGTCP2 NGTCP2 issues. They have issues 29, but none of them say assertion. Callback update key failed. 2 days, 11 days. Okay. Let's do. I'm going to copy my command line and entire output. Copy. Boom. that's just short, and then I'm running Debian unstable Linux. Hi Frank, you missed out some really fun debugging here. Or not, maybe. I mostly didn't solve anything at all. I'm running Debian Linux, and this is curl from git master, and I'll do a git describe. And git TCP2 from git master. And let's have a look. Git describe. No names found. Okay. And NGHTTP3 from master. Boom. Yeah, that was a bit unfortunate, I think. But okay. That leaves me with... Let me add a comment about that then in the issue, since Javier has filed it so good. So we need to make sure that the window size which the code already does. We then need to make sure to only extend the window when the buffer is consumed. Oh well, knowing curl or how to curl is it's not that far apart. So just code, just stuff. But maybe this stuff that I'm into right now is more obscure than usual. But we then need to make sure to only extend the only extend window when the buffer is consumed, and not like the code does now, where it extends the window immediately when the data is stored in the buffer. Where's my bug report? There's my bug report. I'm going to refer to that. Blame my lack of progress on the bug. Yes, it's not my fault. I didn't do it. I could also refer to my little other issue. Where is that? I found an issue about this Windows size thing with NGHP3, but I think Tetsu here, they're very correctly pretty much told me that I need to fix it with the window size. Where am I? There's the issue. I first filed the issue with I first filed this as an issue with NGHP3 at working on a fix for this live on Twitch. Woo! Or sort of not really working, but failing to find a I ran into this new NGHP2 issue. That is currently blocking me. Status update, because it doesn't really conclude anything. So that's what I want to say. Boom. Okay. Yep. That's that. I'm actually pretty. It feels much better now. Now I feel that I understand the issue a little bit. I'm a little bit concerned about that my fix didn't work. But maybe it was a combined, maybe it was also an NGHP2 issue, but at least now I have a really good way to reproduce it, and I could come back to it and then work on making sure that we handle the window correctly. Yeah, but you know, I start out with bugs, and there are always bugs here. You know, bugs is what I do. That's what we do here. So I'm back to the issues list. Then it's still I don't think I closed a single issue for 2.5 hours, right? And I don't think I will do that now either. I have this other HTTP3 issue still. I talked about it yesterday. It's transfer hang with quiche. Quiche has a completely different API, so it can handle the buffers differently. So for quiche, I haven't yet messed around too much with the window wing, because quiche handles that for us pretty well. But yeah, the annoying part of this bug is that I can't reproduce it, basically. So this reporter comes up with a way that hangs the transfer 6 times out of 100. I tried it 100 times and never hang for me. So maybe something is bad in there, but it's hard to say, and it's also complicated in this early times with Quick and HTTP3 and curl, because who knows where the error is, right? Who's to blame here? Very early Quick library, very early HTTP code, very early curl code in a spec wise that isn't landed. So there are a lot of moving pieces and sort of shaky ground. Anyway, I'm going to leave that quiche transfer my hash. And I think this is actually an older bug too, because I got it reported, well, not filed as a bug, but someone told me about it before, and I couldn't reproduce it then either. So I think it's basically been there forever with a quiche backend. Unfortunate. I noticed, by the way, that if you go to the Wikipedia page for HTTP3, here it is. You can see that there are listed HTTP3 implementations. First, what I noted is that the Google one has no name here, because it's also named quiche, and I don't know. Maybe they didn't dare to put it there, because if there are two with the same name. But anyway, that was fun. I also noticed that nobody has added the ngTCP2 and ngHTTP3 libraries, which would be more fair to have here than libcurl, because we're using those libraries and we don't implement it ourselves. The other libraries here are actually native quick and HTTP3 libraries. Anyway, I just noticed. Bam. So what I had marked for today in my little buffer from the beginning is now done. Well, it's not done really, because I haven't really fixed the buffer size and windowing, but I'm on track. I know where the issue is most likely, and even though there was that bad weird unaligned size somehow, I think I'm onto something there. It'll go well. When I get some feedback, and maybe can fix that build with ngTCP2 with Tetsuhiro's help, hopefully I can get back on this issue, and maybe I stream that, maybe I don't. It depends on what. I'm not actually sure when I'll stream the next stream. It probably won't happen this week, because I'm going on Thursday. I'm going to Umeå, northern Sweden, to do an HTTP3 talk over the day. Maybe I will have some time Friday. If I get some feedback, I might do some streaming Friday and fix this window bug on the stream. That would be fun, since I started it, and who can think of anything better to watch on a stream than window debugging. But I think I'm going to close the stream for now. I'm just scanning through. Yep, and I'm also looking forward to quite a lot of snow in the northern Sweden now, which we don't have here in the Stockholm area. We don't have any snow. We have had snow in the air, but no actual snow on the ground yet, which is good, because I still haven't put on my winter tires on my car, which we have mandatory in Sweden. If there is winter, you need to have winter tires in the car. I was going to look at the e-tag comparison, blah blah blah, because that's a. I reviewed this yesterday. If you watched the stream yesterday, and Mr. Sentinel or Miss Sentinel, I don't know, came back and pretty much fixed all of my remarks. Very lovely, actually. So I was going to go back and check the code again. Here it is. If it changed that comparison, Sternikel instead of the other one, and he's now doing. He has removed the mallocs he had yesterday. So I think this is much better. So no extra mallocs and freeze and unnecessary, What's possibly not ideal is that he's doing all this in the callback, but that'll be fine. I think this is really good. Good looking code here. So where is it loading the E tag? It's there. Oh, right, and here's what I wanted to see. Test cases. Test 339. Chunked encoding with E tag. So there's an E tag. Excellent E tag identifier. And it verifies that it saves ASDF, and in this case he's verifying, let's see here, E tag compare. So it reads the E tag from a file and it creates the 341. Oh, right, but it doesn't have any contents in that file here. So I think that's just a minor omission. I guess that will make the 341 fail in Travis. Well, not everywhere, at least. Oh, look at that. Memory leaks. That's what I wanted to have test cases too. Because I was concerned about memory leaks. So having test cases to run them and make sure that they actually work, that's a great way to make sure that at least no memory leaks in the ordinary code paths. But here's a strup memory leak. So yeah, then we don't see the full, because then the test case will just get hung up on the memory leaks. So it's in get parameter in all the cases. So let's see if I can detect it is strup. What? Oh, I bet it's one of those. Save. Okay. I'll just check out the Windows builds too. They say the following warning is treated as an error. Oh, right, that's but there's nothing written. There's just, what is it? Line 142. Oh, there it is. Okay, let's dev their build warn on this. The Travis builds find memory leaks. I should have a friendly link to put to the memory leak too, and that's here. Valgrind, whatever it's called, here. And I wanted to see the test case again. Test 341. So the file format for the test case is that it's a bit funny, but it's XML-like. I don't know really why I picked that thing, but it's pretty readable because the tags aren't that intrusive. Or maybe he wants a non-existing file. That's exactly. So it's actually on purpose. So yeah, that's a wrong comment from me. But he should do. It should do a tag compare with the file as well. I love the test cases, but I miss one like test case 341, but with an existing file. So that we get an actual e-tag match case tested. And then maybe one with a compare that fails to match. Comment. Yep. That's a good session for now, but now when Frank is here and he wants breakfast and I want lunch. So I'm going to stop the stream right this moment, and I'll try to be back on Friday. That might be a good day. Maybe I'll try to stream it slightly later on the day, maybe, or maybe not. I'll let you know. And until then, file some bugs and post some pull requests, and we'll get something going. So bye for now.